Good afternoon. My name is Jody, and I am the adult programmer at the Fredericksburg Library. Today, we have Infinite Legacy and Donate Life ambassadors here to discuss their unique and personal connections to organ donation. April is National Donate Life Month, a time to educate about organ, eye, and tissue donations and to honor and remember donors and the lives they have saved and healed. Your decision to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor gives hope to the 100,000 people on the National Organ Transplant waiting list who are waiting for a second chance at life. It is my honor today to introduce you to Maria from Infinite Legacies, who will take over from now. Good afternoon, Maria.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much, Jody, for having us. Hi, everyone who's watching. My name is Maria, Senior Community Outreach Specialist at Infinite Legacy. We are the local nonprofit that is dedicated to educating the public about organ, eye, and tissue donation. And today we're joined with three of our amazing Donate Life ambassadors. We have Brad, who is a heart recipient, Jessica, who is a donor family member, and Christy, who is a living kidney donor. And today they're going to be sharing about their own personal experiences and connections to donation. So Brad, I'd love to start with you. Can you share a little bit more about your journey to needing a transplant and how receiving the heart transplant has changed your daily life physically and emotionally?
Sure. So I'm Brad, a heart transplant recipient. I received my transplant in March of last year, so I'm just a little bit over a year out from my second birthday. I guess my journey started about 7 years ago now, and I was diagnosed with ARVC, which is an arrhythmogenic condition, meaning that I had dangerous heart arrhythmias. And over time, we tried to correct that or to help prevent those arrhythmias with surgeries and medical therapies, but those ultimately were unsuccessful. And the decision was taken at the beginning of last year to list for transplant. And I actually received a transplant very, very quickly after being listed due to the risk of the arrhythmias potentially being fatal. Actually, from the time we started discussing it to the time the transplant actually happened was only about 5 weeks, so it was really very, very fast, which is unusual. The change has been dramatic on all fronts. The biggest of which is really just that it's reopened a lot of doors that I thought had been closing. Because of my condition, I've sort of slowly been losing things. Losing the ability to run, which I'd really loved before, losing the ability to play physically with the kids, and towards the end, as the heart failure symptoms progressed, starting to just lose the ability to really be active at all. And transplant has reversed that and let me do those things again. Let me be there and be healthy and in a safe place for my young kids, which has been just an amazing gift.
Thank you, Brad. It's amazing to hear how much this transplant has changed your life about a year out, and glad to hear that you're doing really well. And speaking about how transplants are life-changing, Christy, you are a living kidney donor. And so I want to kind of learn a little bit about what inspired you to become a living kidney donor. How did you prepare yourself mentally for the process, and what surprised you the most about it?
I've been an organ donor, since I got my driver's license and was able to put it on there. But I knew that I was willing to let someone have anything that was viable to use after I'd passed. I'd never really thought about being a living donor. I've heard about it, but I'd never really thought about it. And my husband came home one day and said a gentleman he worked with had just gone on dialysis. He had kidney disease and was asking some of his friends to fill out a form to see if they were, to get the blood work done to see if they were a match. And I was like, well, the more the merrier. So I filled out a form for my husband. I filled out one for me. We got the kits back. I got my blood work done. I was a match. My husband's blood work kit is still sitting in the closet 8 years later. So we went through the process. Preparing for it was a lot of hurry up and wait, get your blood work done, and then wait for the results, and then some more testing. And so it was about a year from the start of it to the time that the transplant took place. Preparing for it was, I just needed to watch my diet and some changes that I had to make beforehand. And then, of course, they get you to go through all the process of all the testing and making sure that no one's forcing you to do it. But it's been one of the greatest things that I think I've ever done in my life. It's just been a blessing in so many ways. It taught me a lot of things about myself and about the transplant community, which is an absolute wonderful group of people from start to finish. And it's just been great.
That's so amazing to hear. And you broke up a little bit. I just want to make sure that anyone who might be watching, what was your connection to the recipient?
I had never met him. He worked at a place that my husband worked. So I actually got to meet him 3 weeks before surgery.
Wow.
He took me out. He took us out to dinner. But before that, I'd heard about him, but I never met him. We got to know each other during his dialysis. He did dialysis 3 days a week from 4 to 8. So we would sit and chat either via text or messenger or on the phone if he felt like it. And we just got to know each other that way over the year process.
That's amazing. And how is he doing now?
Fantastic.
Oh, love to hear that. Thank you. Thank you, Christy. So we'll definitely chat a little bit later in the discussion, kind of for anyone who might be watching who's interested about living kidney donation. But now I wanted to pass the mic on to you, Jessica, as a donor family member. Can you tell us a little bit about your brother and who he was as a person?
So yeah, and I just want to thank you all for having me on today. It's really an honor to continue to share the legacy of my brother, who passed away almost 9 years ago this month. So my brother was a 31-year-old, young, passionate, energetic, and very selfless person who was taking care of our grandmother, who at the time was 97. And he had been her caretaker for about 15 years. And unfortunately, he had an undiagnosed seizure disorder. And the last 2 years of his life, his seizures started randomly at times. And then as time progressed, his seizures got worse and longer. And so I found myself ensuring that I was monitoring them as much as I could, meaning how long was he out? How long was he seizing? How long did it take him to get back to be who he was? And on April 22nd of 2016, he had a grand mal seizure, and by the time the paramedics got to our house in El Paso, Texas, he had been, the doctors said, down for about anywhere between 10 and 20 minutes. So by the time they got his heart started again, he had lost a lot of oxygen to his brain. And I just want to share with everybody that's watching, my brother was not a donor. He didn't designate that on his driver's license. But we as a family made a decision when we knew that he was not going to wake up, that we would donate his organs, because we all felt very strongly that he would want to help other people, as he did with my grandmother for so many years. And so we knew that this was the best way to honor his life, although at the time you don't think about, the lives that, your loved one can save, I will say it was the best decision that our family could have made for my brother and for those that he helped save. So he helped save the lives of 4 people through his heart, lungs, and kidneys, as well as tissue, skin, etc. So I'm just really honored to be a part of the Infinite Legacy family, and continue to share my brother's story and honor him in a way that I think he deserves.
Thank you, Jessica. And we're honored to have you as part of the Infinite Legacy and Donate Life family as well. It's beautiful to hear, that your brother saved 4 people. How has that influenced the way that you remember him? Because he was always a caregiver. You mentioned he took care of your grandmother. He was only 31 years old. So how has that influenced the way that you remember him? The fact that he was able to save and touch so many lives.
I remember him because he was always like that. When he was living, he was always helping his friends, his family, even when he didn't have anything to give or to help himself. He wanted to ensure that he was always helping people. And so I think he got it from our grandmother, who was a nurse for 40 years in her career, and worked as a volunteer at the hospital for 33 years. By the time she retired from volunteering at 99. So I think a lot of that was really instilled in us as young children and into adults. And he was always doing so much for other people. So to this day, I continue to try to give back to my community, whether it's at my parish or through Infinite Legacy. I just want to make sure that I can continue to do the things that he did. And if I can honor him in doing those things, it's really just an honor for me to be able to do that.
Thank you, Jessica. You are 100% honoring your brother, and I'm sure he is smiling down right now looking at you. And so thank you so much. Brad, I'd love to chat a little bit more about your condition. Given the rapid deterioration of your condition and the short wait for a heart transplant, you mentioned, it was just under 5 weeks from, realizing how sick you were. I think you mentioned it was less than 2 weeks in getting the heart transplant. How did you manage the intense uncertainty during that time?
Yeah. So I was admitted to the hospital on the 28th of February. And I actually got married the same day. We had been planning to do that for a while, but the transplant sort of pushed things along for us. So we had to go down to the courthouse before I went up to the hospital. And from there, it was less than 2 weeks from admission to the transplant. The journey of getting a transplant has a lot of very complex emotions associated with it. And to be honest, I really was not able to process them all in that time. I was really focused on that time on coming to grips with accepting that this was the right course of action to do the transplant and to do it right then. Rather than waiting for further deterioration or trying additional pre-transplant interventions. And I kind of approached it the same way I approach a lot of these problems, which was very structured and top down. I just thought closely about what I really wanted out of my life and what I thought the transplant could give me. And it ultimately boiled down to having these years with my kids and with my husband, who are, while the kids are young, and to be able to really be a healthy and active part of their lives. What really mattered to me was being able to sort of fully participate in their lives. And that was sort of the anchor that I held on to as I was really rushing through this process. It really wasn't until afterwards that I was able to kind of come to grips with what a transplant entails and all the very difficult emotions that come with the procedure itself, and coming to grips with, on the one hand, the immense gratitude for the gift of my new heart, and on the other hand, on a certain degree of guilt, given the circumstances under which that was possible. And it's an ongoing process. Even a year later, I don't think I'm all the way through. I may never be all the way through it.
Yes, it is a journey, for sure, and everyone's journey looks different. But we're so glad to hear that you're doing well, for your marriage, for your kids, for your family. Just getting back to, some of the activities that you were doing before the transplant and before you got sick. So thank you so much for sharing. Organ donation truly is the gift of life. So Christy, how has donating a kidney affected you and your perspective on what it means to give and to receive?
I guess I'd never really thought about the perspective of being a living donor until it happened. But it opened up a lot of information for me, because I love the medical field. I always wanted to be a nurse, but another story. So I was always like, oh, you have to be this type of person, or you have to be this type of person to be able to donate. And that's not true at all. If you're a match, that, with someone, then you're good to go. With the going through the all the testing, and you have to see the therapist or psychiatrist or whatever level they put you on to make sure that you're doing everything on your own accord and you're not being, forced into it, and to make sure that that you understand all of the emotions and things that are going to come through, because you do go through a roller coaster of emotions, from nervous, excitement, anxiety. I'm sure somewhere in there might have been a little depression, but overall, my perspective of it now is that it is an absolutely amazing process. It's amazing the things that they can do nowadays with the giving and receiving of living organs. It opened up a whole new perspective as far as the living side of it went. As far as affecting me, the only major thing that is for me is that I'm not allowed to take NSAIDs. So no ibuprofen, no Advil, no Aleve, things like that. But other than that, I live a normal life. I had a great support system, both through the whole thing, with family, friends. I worked at the YMCA, and they were like, I have a group of older ladies that play pickleball, and they were like mother hens. They all took turns bringing me something to eat, making sure that I had food and that I had everything that I needed. And they were just amazing.
Thank you, Christy. So glad to hear that you're doing well and that your recovery afterwards went well as well. Jessica, it's clear that making the decision to donate your loved one's organs in the face of such a loss is not easy. So what would you say to someone who might be in a similar position, with the potential to donate their loved one's organs or tissues, but might be unsure about what the right decision is?
That is a very tricky question because I have two answers, one from at the time and then one to now. But I think, if I could look back almost 9 years ago, when the doctors initially approached us about the idea of donation, we're a very faithful family, so we just wanted to believe that my brother would wake up, because he was young. He was 31. He had just turned 31. And so for us, it was hard to imagine that we were even having these conversations. And so initially I was very much like, I don't want to know about organ donation. I don't want to know that he can help save the lives of up to 7 people. I just had a very negative attitude towards it. But as the days progressed and my brother started to slowly deteriorate, I just knew deep down in my heart that even though my brother wasn't designated as an organ donor, I knew he would want to donate. And I think from that, even though as hard as it was for me to say yes, especially after he was pronounced brain dead, that we would make the donation, we would say yes. It took some convincing for my younger sister. She was just very adamantly opposed to donation. And since my brother had no brain activity, I just felt that the best possible thing that we can do to honor him was to help save the lives of as many people as he could. And he is, he's doing that. And I think that I would tell people now that as hard as it is in the situation, if your loved one is a designated donor, honor their wishes, respect their wishes. If they're not a designated donor, please really consider why donation is so important. There's over 100,000 people on a waiting list. So many people die a day waiting for an organ. And anything that you can do, as much as difficult as it is to lose a loved one, you'll just know for me, it didn't happen immediately. I didn't feel good about anything for a long time. But I think as the year passed and I got a letter from my brother's heart recipient, I think that's when everything finally clicked, because I knew in my heart that we did the right thing, but my brain was telling me, like, you're still feeling sad. Did we make the right decision? Did he die in vain? But once I heard from his heart recipient and just hearing about how much his life has changed, like Brad's, I think that we had definitely made the right decision at that point. But it's not easy to say yes, when you're in the thick of it. We had no any type of support in terms of counselors or psychologists, and our parents were deceased, so me and my 2 siblings were his next of kin, so we had to all agree to decide to do this. And once we did, they designated they did not want any type of communication from any of the donors or from the recipients. But I said, I want everybody to be able to contact me, because I want to be able to share him with these people and tell them how lucky they are that his organs are in them and help them. So I would say please just really consider saving the lives of people. They're strangers, but they will, at least for me, I'm lucky that I got another family member out of it.
I'm sorry to interrupt real quickly. If you have any questions that you would like to ask about organ donation in general, or to one of our participants, please just put it in the comment section and I will get it to them. Thank you all, and I will let you guys go back to your discussion.
Thank you so much, Jody. And thank you, Jessica. You mentioned your brother's heart recipient. Have you met him?
I have. I met him in 2018. I used to work at the American Psychological Association, and we did a session at their annual meeting called why am I blanking on?
That's okay.
It was a session that included the psychology behind organ donation, and we had a transplant psychologist, myself, and my brother's heart recipient. And so I started off by sharing my brother's story. The transplant psychologist shared what their role on a transplant team is, as Brad and well, both of you would probably know about that very well. And then my brother's heart recipient shared his story. And that was in San Francisco, and we met the day before that session, and it was very, very difficult because it's very unreal to me that, when I was with my brother, even though he had passed, he just felt so real, and I could feel him, I could touch him, I could smell him, and I could feel his heart beating. And when I heard my brother's heart recipient, my brother's heart and his heart, I lost it. So that was really, really hard, but we have kept in touch. He's a very, very close, I call him family. We tell each other we love each other. He's engaged. He has 2 sons and grandchildren, and he came to my wedding in 2019. So it's a good way to honor my brother, and he met my sister, which was very hard for her. But I'm very blessed. And so if I could also just tell Brad, when you're ready, write that letter. And, as my brother's heart recipient told me, he wrote that letter probably more than 20 times because he just didn't want to say the wrong thing. He didn't know how to say thank you. And for me, I always just told him, live your life and be happy and do good. And if you can continue to be a good person and live to be a kind person, do good for others, that's all that my brother was. And I believe that is who he is as well. So Brad, when you're ready, I just highly encourage you, because receiving that letter changed my life. It really
I've probably started it or set down thoughts for it at least 20 times over the past year. It is definitely one of the hardest things I've ever had to try to express.
Thank you both. It takes time, and everyone's journey looks different. But I appreciate you, Jessica, sharing your perspective. I think we can all feel just the type of person that your brother was on this call. I mean, we feel it through you, through the way you honor him and you share who he was and his story. So thank you so much. Brad, what do you think is the most important thing for people to understand about the journey of receiving an organ transplant?
I mean, first, that there's no typical journey. Everyone's experience with it is going to be very different, not just from other people who are involved, but day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute. It is a lot, and it's going to hit differently at different times. And you can and should do whatever you can to try to prepare yourself, but there are going to be unexpected things that are going to come up along the journey, and it's not going to be easy. It's going to require a lot of support. What I would say to everyone, all people involved at any level, is there's so much support out there. Use it. Even if you don't feel like it, force yourself to use it, because that community and those resources that are out there are so important and so valuable and will make such a difference if you just reach out and rely on them.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, Maria.
Go ahead,
We haven't gotten a question. We have gotten a comment of encouragement from someone that did an internship with the Washington Regional Transplant Community, which is the organization that coordinates organ, eye, and tissue donations in the DMV. It was the most impactful job I've ever had. I cried so many tears, both happy and sad, for the very life-touching stories. In my internship, I was part of the community outreach team that tried to dispel the many myths about organ donations and to get more people to donate. So because of this, I've actually asked a question myself. in so many medias, they say that your organs have to be completely 100% perfect to donate them. And if they're not, they just throw them away. Is that true, or to encourage more people, should they donate even if they might not have 100% viable organs to donate?
Thank you so much, Jody, for the question. So for everyone who is considering registering to be a donor, we always encourage you to do so regardless of what your medical history or your age is. At the time of someone's death, that's when doctors determine what can be used for transplantation. Sometimes, there are certain organs that can't be used, for whatever reason, but we always have options such as research. There's also tissue donation that is just as life-saving as organ donation. So we encourage you, regardless of what your status is, just register to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor. It's never too late. And I just wanted to go back to the comment that the person had left about their internship at Washington Regional Transplant Community. That used to be our organization, but we had an organizational merger in 2022. So now we are Infinite Legacy. And so for anyone who's watching, we do have internship opportunities. We have volunteer opportunities. Our three amazing panelists, our Donate Life ambassadors, are volunteers with our organization. So if there's anyone who is interested in joining our organization, please visit our website, infinitelegacy.org, because you can learn all about it there. And I think we have time for one last question. Christy, there are a lot of people, some people who might be interested in becoming a living donor, but they're unsure. What advice would you give to someone who is considered donating a kidney to a loved one or even a stranger?
I would say, if there's an opportunity to help someone, please, do ask the questions of your physician or someone at the transplant center, or even the person, that you might be interested in donating for. Ask the questions, and there's always a fear, but once you get past that fear, it is an amazing experience from start to finish. The people at I've been to 2 different transplant centers, and one I just visited, and one was the one that I was at. But the people that are there are that have the warmest personalities and are so caring and loving and giving. I just say, just reach out and do it. If you can't donate to a person that you're trying to, there's always the crossover program where you can exchange maybe with someone that's somewhere else that you match, and then someone there matches who you're trying to match to. But there's so many opportunities that are just amazing.
Thank you, Christy. It truly is the gift of life. But before we close, is there any last comments any of our panelists wanted to say before we wrap up? No.
I just want to echo the encouragement to sign up to donate regardless of your situation. I think it's the best part of humanity to take a personal challenge, difficulty, tragedy, and to turn that back to good for so many other people. It's an amazing thing to do, and I hope that I hope that we can help connect more people with the organs they need.
Thank you, Brad. And just to echo off of what you said, go ahead, Jessica.
No, I was just going to add some parting notes, just to say that organ donation has changed my life. 9 years ago, I am a donor, but I've never thought about it as much as I have starting, April 22nd. So I think that, if you're undecided about whether or not you want to be an organ donor, absolutely say yes, because the lives and the impact that you're going to have on other people's lives is tremendous. And I can speak so passionately about this community because of how much I love my brother, and it's he who brought me into this community. And I would be a completely different person had I not decided to honor him in this way. And every day and any moment that I get to share my brother with anybody is really a gift to me. And like I said in the beginning, it is continuing to honor his legacy.
Thank you, Jessica. That was beautifully said. I hope that anyone who is watching will have learned, something from our conversation today. Maybe feel inspired to learn more about organ donation, talk with your community, your family. I think we can all see here the true impact that organ donation has across all different levels. And so I would just encourage anyone who is watching, who is considering to learn a little bit more about it, visit infinitelegacy.org if you're ready to register, or if not, share what we discussed today with your community. But other than that, I want to thank our 3 amazing panelists for being here, for sharing your powerful stories on Donate Life Month to kick off Donate Life Month. And thank you, Jody, for having us.
Thank you all so much for coming, and also for how brave you are in speaking about your experiences. We didn't get any more questions, but we did get from the previous comment. They just wanted to thank you all for being here and for spreading this information out into the community. If you unfortunately had a question you wanted to ask or are watching this later on, I am dropping an email that you can contact Maria at into the comments. And you can contact them to ask any questions, or if you have any further interest in learning about organ and tissue donation. All right, thank you guys so much. Sorry, my computer is being a little slow this morning. So thank you all so much for doing this, and thank everyone for watching.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.